Hello students, I am your English teacher. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to read a story, a new lesson from your NCERT books for class 7 English Honeycomb chapter 2. Before we read, Mridu is a young girl growing up in Madras, now called Chennai, with Tapi, her grandmother, and Tata, her grandfather. One afternoon, Tapi takes her to her aunt Rukumani's house to meet her cousins Lali, Ravi, and Meena. The title is A Gift of Tuppence. A smiling Rukumani threw open the door. Ravi and Meena rushed out, and Ravi pulled Mridu into the house. Wait, let me take off my slippers, protested Mridu. She set them out neatly near a pair of large black ones. Those were grey, actually with dust. You could see the clear marks of every toe on the front part of each slipper. The marks for the two big toes were long and scrawny. Scrawny means thin, suggesting tiny toes here. Mridu did not have much time to wonder about whose slippers they were because Rabi dragged her to the backyard behind a thick bitterberry bush. There, inside the torn football lined with sacking and filled with sand, lay a very small kitten lapping up milk from a coconut half shell. We found him outside the gate this morning. He was mewing and mewing, poor thing, said Meena. It's a secret, Amma says. Patti will leave for our Padu Mama's house if she knows we have a kid. Patti, meaning grandmother in Tamil. People are always telling us to be kind to animals, but when we are, they scream, "Oh, don't bring that dirty creatures here," said Ravi. Do you know how hard it is just to get a little milk from the kitchen? Patty saw me with a glass in my hand just now. I told her I'm very hungry. I want to drink it, but the way she looked at me, I had to drink most of it to throw her off the scent. Then she wanted the tumbler back. Patty, Patty, I will wash it myself. Why should I put you to trouble? I told her. I had to run and pour the milk into this coconut shell, then run back and wash the tumblers and put it back before she got really suspicious. Now we have to think of some other way to feed Mahendran. Mahendran, this little kitty's name is Mahendran. Mridu was impressed. It was a real name, not just a cute kitty cat name. Actually, his full name is Mahendra Verma Pallava Punai MP, Punai for short if you like. He is a fine breed of cat. Just look at his fur, like a lion's mane. And you know what the emblem of the ancient Pallava kings was, don't you? He looked expectantly at Mridu. Mridu giggled. Think I'm joking? Well, just wait. I will show you sometime. It's clear you don't know a thing about history. Haven't been to Mahabalipuram, have you? He said mysteriously. Well, when our class went to Mahabalipuram, I saw a statue of his tatas, 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 etc., etc. Fact is, Mahendran here is descended from that very same ancient cat, a close relative, scientifically speaking, of none other than the lion, the Pallava lion, emblem of the Pallava dynasty. Ravi went on, walking round the bitterberry bush, waving a twig up and down, his eyes sparkling. This cat is a descendant of none other than the Mahabalipuram Rishi cat, and if I may just remind you, they worshipped cats in ancient Egypt. Here, Tata means grandfather in Tamil, descended from, a descendant of, or comes from the same family. How he loved the sound of his own voice. Mina and Mridu exchanged looks. What does that have to do with anything? Mridu demanded. Huh, I'm telling you, this cat is descended from the Egyptian cat god. No goddess, bastard, yeah, that's it. So, well, one of the descendants of that cat goddess was a stowaway in one of the Pallava ships, and his descendant was the Mahabalipuram Rishi cat, whose descendant is Ravi flourished his twig at Mahendran, MP Punai here. Woof, eek, he shrieked. Very pleased with himself, Mahendram looked out, alarmed. He had just been sharpening his claws on the edge of the coconut shell, but worse than Ravi's awful woofed eek was a screech. From the window, what a weird sound! If Mridu was startled, MP Punai was frightened out of his wits. Here, standing on end, he bounced up and scurried towards a bamboo tray of red chilies that had been set out to dry. Trying to hide beneath it, he tipped a few chilies over himself. Meow! He howled miserably. The creaking went on and on. What's that noise? Said Mridu. That's Lali learning to play the violin, grunted Ravi. She will never learn a thing. The music master just goes on playing like a train whizzing on and on, while Lali's all the time derailing, going completely off track. Here, stowaway means someone who hides himself, herself in a ship or an aircraft to travel unnoticed. Weird, strange, or unusual. Here we have some exercises, comprehension check, which the students should try. Mridu gave up to the window. Lali was sitting a little distance away, awkwardly holding her violin and bowstring, her elbows jutting out and her eyes glazed with concentration. In front of her, with most of his back to the window, was the bony figure of the music master. He had a mostly bald head, with a fringe of oil black hair falling round his ears and an old-fashioned tuft. A gold chain gleamed around his leathery neck, and a diamond ring glittered on his hand as it glided up and down the stem of the violin. A large foot stuck out from beneath his gold-bordered vasty edge, and he was beating time on the floor with a groany big toe. He played a few notes. Lali stumbled behind him on her violin, which looked quite helpless. Glided, meaning move along smoothly. Vasti, dhoti in Tamil, stumbled, followed haltingly. And unhappy in her hands, what a difference! The music master's notes seemed to float up and settle perfectly into the invisible tracks of the melody. It was like the wheels of a train fitting smoothly into the rails and whizzing along. As Ravi said, Mridu stared at that huge Viren's hand moving effortlessly up the violin's stem, making lovely music. Squawk! There was Lally derailing again. Amma! Came a wail from the gate. Amma! Oh! Ravi sent that beggar away, cried his mother from the back veranda where she was chatting. Be ringed. The music master is wearing a ring. With Tuppy, he has been coming here every day for the past week, and each time he found another house to beg from. Patti explained to Tuppy. Mridu and Mina followed Ravi out. The beggar was already in the garden, making himself quite at home. He had spread his upper clothes under the neem tree and was leaning against its trunk, apparently prepared to take a little snooze while he waited for the arm to appear. Go away, said Ravi sternly. My Patti says it's time you found another house to beg from. Snooze, meaning short sleeved. The beggar opened his eyes very wide and gazed at each of the children one by one. The ladies of this house, he said at last in a voice choked with feeling, are very kind souls. I have kept my body and soul together on their generosity for a whole week. I cannot believe that they would turn me away. He raised his voice. Amma, Amma, oh, said his wealth might be, but it certainly wasn't feeble. It began in a deep, strong rumble somewhere in his withered belly and came booming out of his mouth, with its few remaining teeth stand brown with bitter chewing. Ravi, tell him there is nothing left in the kitchen, called Rukumani. And he is not to come again, tell him that. She sounded fed up. Fed up, meaning tired and unhappy. Ravi didn't have to repeat it all to the beggar. What his mother said had been easy for them all to hear. There under the neem tree, the beggar sat up and sighed. I will go, he said wearily. Only let me have a rest here under this tree. The sun is so hot. The tar has melted on the road. My feet are already blistered. He stretched out his feet to show large, pink, peeling blisters on the soles of his bare feet. Blisters, meaning boils, bubbles on the skin from burns or rubbing. I suppose he doesn't have the money to buy chappals, Mridu whispered to Mina Ravi. Have you got an old pair in the house somewhere? I don't know, said Ravi. Mine are too small to fit his feet, or I would have given them to him, and his feet were larger than Mridu's and Mina's. The beggar was sacking out his upper clothes and tightening his dhoti. He raised his eyes and looked fearfully at the road, gleaming in the afternoon heat. He needs something on his feet, Mina said, her big eyes filling. It's not fair. Shh, said Ravi. I'm thinking about it, blubbering. It's not fair, it's not fair. Isn't going to help. In 2 minutes, he will be frying his feet on that rod. What he needs is a pair of chappals. So where do we get them? Come, let's search the house. He pushed Mridu and Mina into the house, eyes filling with tears. Just as he stepped into the veranda, Mridu's eyes fell on the odd-looking chappals she had noticed when she arrived. Ravi, she whispered to him, whose are those? Ravi turned and glanced at the savvy-looking but sturdy old slippers. He beamed and nodded. These are just the right size, he said, picking them out. Mridu and Meena followed him nervously back to the garden. "Here," said Ravi to the beggar, dropping the slippers in front of the old man. "Wear this, and don't come back." The beggar stared at the slippers, hurriedly flung his towels over his shoulder, pushed his feet into them, and left. Muttering a blessing to the children, in a minute he had vanished around the corner of the street. The music master came out of the house and took an unappreciative look at the three of them, sitting quietly under the tree, playing marbles. Then he searched for his apples in the veranda where he had put them. Unappreciative, disapproving. "Lally," he called. After a few moments, she hurried up to him. "Have you seen my chapels, my dear? I remember having kept them here." Rabi, Mridu, and Mina silently watched Lally and the music master search every corner of the veranda. He scurried around, looking over the railing and crouching near the flower pots to look between them. Brand new they were. "I went all the way to the Mount Road to buy them," he went on saying. "They cost a whole month's fees, do you know?" Soon Lali went in to tell her mother. Rukumani appeared, looking harassed, with Pati following her. "Where could they be? It's really quite upsetting to think someone might have stolen them. So many vendors come to the door," worried Pati. Rukumani caught sight of Ravi, Mridu, and Meena sitting under the tree. "Have you children?" she began, and then, seeing they were curiously quiet, went on more slowly. "Seen anyone lurking round the veranda?" A soft V-shaped line had formed between her eyebrows. "Lurking, waiting quietly without attracting attention." Another straight, tighter one appeared in place of her usually soft, pleasant mouth. Rukumani was angry, thought Mridu with a shiver. She wouldn't be so upset if she knew about the poor beggar with sores on his feet, she tried to tell herself. Taking a deep breath, she cried, "Rukumani, there was a beggar here. Poor thing, he had such boils on his feet." "So," said Rukumani grimly, turning to Ravi, "you gave the music master suppers to that old beggar who turns up here?" "Children these days," groaned Pati. "Amma, didn't you tell me about the Karna who gave away everything he had, even his gold earrings? He was so kind and generous." "Silly," snapped Rukumani. "Karn didn't give away other people's things. He only gave away his own." "But my chapel wouldn't have fitted the beggar's feet," Ravi rushed brassly on. "And Amma, if they did fit, would you really not have minded?" Ravi said. Rukumani, very angry now, "Go inside this minute." She hurried indoors and brought out Gopu Mama's heartily worn new chapels. "This should fit you, sir. Please put this on. I am so sorry, my son has been very naughty." The music master's eyes lit up. He put them on, trying not to look too happy. "Well, I suppose this will have to do. These days, children have no respect for elders. What to do? A Hanuman incarnate. Only Rama can have saved such a naughty fellow." Rukumani's eyes flashed. She didn't seem to like Ravi being called a monkey, even a holy monkey. She stood stiff and straight by the front door. It was clear she wanted him to leave quickly. When he had clattered off, meaning gone off noisily, with the noise or clattered off chapels. When he had clattered off in his new chapels, she said, "Mridu, come in and have some tiffin. Honestly, how do you children think of such things? Thank God your Gopu Mama doesn't wear his chappals to walk. As she walked towards the kitchen with Mridu and Meena, she suddenly began to laugh. But he is always in such a hurry to throw off his shoes and socks and get into his chappals as soon as he comes home. What's your mama going to say this evening when I tell him I gave his chappal to the music master? The story is written by Vasanta Surya from Mridu in Madras.